Why, hello, everybody. This is Eric Virathaler of Virathaler Studios back again for the next episode of Sit Down by the Fire. I'm here with my co-host, Ty from Junebug Films. We're here with our returning special guest. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Bobby of Lugosi Theater on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. And thank you so much for having me on again.
No
Yeah,
problem.
certainly. But yeah, certainly, of course. But yeah, I mean, knowing last time it was just me and you, and now you can finally meet my co-host.
It's wonderful to meet you too.
No, you too. Um, as somebody who could do the LeBay Lugosi impression, I thought I'd better join because Len said that hers was one of the best she's ever seen. So I would like to thank her for doing that very much. So
Oh, you do great.
I do. I've been told that quite a bit. You have to get the proper verbiage to do it, and do repetition, and then if I do it very slowly, I sound like Peter Lorre. So you got to do it very slowly, and you have to think, get that proper Hungarian voice here. Yes, you sound more like Peter Lorre if you do it really slow. So.
Oh, you sound like, oh my God, that sounds but like right on the nose, Peter Lorre. That's awesome.
Yeah, definitely. And correct me if I'm wrong. I believe Peter Lorre actually was at Bela Lugosi's funeral, and I believe it was him, like who said that Vincent Price or somebody like who made the joke after seeing Bela, wearing his Dracula costume in his grave. He said, "I think that we should probably, should stake him through his heart just to make sure."
Yeah, I I did hear that. I did hear about that one. So
That is funny.
I don't know if that's if that's just like a legend or a true story. Because
I'm not sure.
Well,
right?
I mean, I believe when myth becomes fact, print the
Right,
legend,
yeah.
right?
And either way, it adds to the legend.
Oh, it does, yeah.
I mean, and even Bela though, one of the things I always loved about him, he had great other roles besides Dracula. Like I love the movies like the serials that he did. Like one of them that I've been watching recently is now that of course I'm drawing a blank on the name right now, but where he started out, he played the villain originally.
I mean, it's not surprising. I mean,
Yes, but then in the sequels he played the hero.
Oh, Shandu the Magician?
Yeah, Shandu, yes.
Yeah.
I love that series, and the radio dramas are really good too. Shando. No, like if anybody wants to like look at pre-Doctor Strange, check out Shandu. It's like it's just such an interesting series. There's. I've even seen movies where he played a mobster. There's like,
interesting. I honestly had no idea that even existed.
Well, it's funny to see him, play basically. Hungary, Italy, same kind of in the same general area. It works.
Yeah, I mean, you get the dark hair and stuff like that. Like,
yeah, that works. It's just funny to sit there and see Bela Lugosi sit there. You're gonna sleep with the fishies. Something like that. But I just always, I think, like, honestly, it's weird saying this. Like, if he existed now, I feel like he would be like, dude, why are you doing those, like, crappy movies? Like, come on. But then, like, he'd be compared to, like, one of those big stars like Eric Roberts, I feel like, that does everything. So,
right, yeah.
I can see that.
But then us film directors, Eric would love Bela Lugosi because he's like, hey, big star, he's gonna work for us, right?
Yeah. Well, and now I feel like now you would make you make Dracula movie after Dracula movie with him.
Yeah, and I mean, especially considering that after Bela died, like was when the Dracula book went into the public domain, and then therefore, yeah, I mean, a shame that he didn't live just a little bit longer. It's because like they could have made more Dracula movies with him. And checking his DB page, I see that there's one movie that I never heard of, but its name instantly caught my attention. Zombies on Broadway. Interesting name.
Oh my god! Oh my gosh!
That name catches my attention.
And guess who has it on DVD?
I forgot about that one. You know what, bro? I even said this for Boris, but you know, one role that would have been interesting if either one of them had lived like a little longer. Now, granted, Bela would have been like 90 years old, but I think it would be really interesting to see him play Father Merrin in The Exorcist.
That I think would have been cool.
The power of place compels you. Power of place compels you.
It's so interesting you mentioned because I worked at haunted houses for years, and we used to one of the haunted houses I worked at, we had like the Exorcist scene, and I thought about and this the character I played was the priest, and I could just see Bela Lugosi playing Father Merrin, especially with his intensity, like with his intensity doing the ritual.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I think Bela, like if he lived longer, people would have sit there and said, "Oh my gosh, what a great comeback for him and everything,"
Oh yeah.
And like,
I just
90 years old and making a comeback.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, and I just thought of this, even though it would have been unrealistic, but imagine if, like in the original Halloween, like if they as Dr. Loomis, if they had Boris Karloff.
Wow.
That would have been interesting. Realistically, there's no way that would have happened. But it is an interesting thought.
Right, just to imagine what he would do with that role, like how.
I know one of the things that I get. I know Chris J.R.R. Tolkien was not really much of a fan of medium in general when it comes to movies, because you can never get the book right and everything. But I know he was sitting there saying, I think he thinks that Bela would be an interesting Smaug. I remember him reading too.
That would have been really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So I can't. I'm just trying to imagine Bela Lugosi voice the dragon.
And the role I saw a fan made poster for it once, but it seemed like it would be a great idea if Bela had played Dr. Hannibal Lecter in Silence of the Lambs.
That would have been interesting.
Yeah, that would, because I know in Anthony Hopkins, he never blinks in Silence of the Lambs, and neither does Bela when he plays Dracula.
Right.
So even like some of what Bela did as Dracula inspired Silence of the Lambs. So I could easily
make a deep fake out of that.
Yeah,
and somebody dubbed the voice for it too.
Right? Yeah.
Somebody should.
I had his liver with a nice Chianti with a side of fava beans.
That would have been awesome.
Hello, Clarice.
I don't know how to I don't know how to do the Bela Lugosi accent.
Do you know what you look like with your cheap shoes? You look like a rube.
Do you know
that
what you look like
awesome if that happened?
Do you know what you look like with your cheap shoes? You look like a rouge. You got it. No, I've been told. Len told me hers. I got quite the compliment. Len said that I did one of the best she's ever heard.
You do amazing. You do amazing.
Yeah, definitely a lot better than I can do it, which I certainly got to give Martin Landau a lot of props, because Martin, he did it pretty good. Like at some points, it sounded spot on exactly to Bela Lugosi. And from what I heard, he would watch a lot of Lugosi movies over and over again. And he said that he would watch Bela Lugosi meets a Brooklyn a lot. But Martin Landau was honest. He said that that's one of the worst movies he has ever seen in his life, but he only watched it just to prepare for his role as Bela Lugosi. So it makes sense why that he would watch it. But I appreciate his honesty.
I'm sorry, Eric. I did that movie for the money. And so, no, I've seen Bela Lugosi meets the Brooklyn Gorilla. It is I can't even call it like one of those so bad it's good movies. It's more like a drinking movie. You know, like I'm gonna pour some whiskey and watch this movie because it's fun. It's funny bad. Like it's a spoof of. I look at more of a spoof of Dean Martin and Martin and Lewis movies because that's really what it was because that's what these guys played. But Duke Mitchell, the Dean Martin guy, his career later on was interesting. He became a nightclub singer in Las Vegas and then made his own movies in Las Vegas that made like these exploitation gangster movies. And like they are like some of the wildest movies you've ever seen. Like there's one of them, and I'm not even kidding. This is the plot of the movie. They're kidnapping the Pope.
Wow.
That's the entire plot of the movie.
Was it the actor who was it Sammy Petrillo who does like the Jerry Lewis one?
Yes.
And there's this interview with him, and he talks about he went up to Bela and said, "Hi, Boris," and Bela said, "Hello, Jerry." So for the rest of the shoot, they would call each other Boris and Jerry.
That is funny.
Well, the funny thing is that there's even an old. It's a. I saw this on YouTube years ago. I don't even know if it's still up. But Sammy Petrillo is sitting there saying how it's time to have Jerry Lewis cut the act and everything, and basically he's pretending to be. He's doing reversal. Basically, he's being Jerry and saying that Jerry is Sammy. It's just interesting though. You know those guys. That movie. I mean. And even some of the serials that Bela did was just always interesting. Cause, it's like there's a few of them where he was he did some science fiction back in the day. He really was just a great actor. I think I would say that Boris I think was the more Hollywood star, but I think Bela was more the actor star, because if that makes any sense,
No, he brought like a passion and intensity to all his roles, and you could tell that like even if it was like Ed Wood's Bride of the Monster, or even the little stuff the surviving footage in Plan 9 from Outer Space, you could tell this is like someone who's really taking this role seriously. He probably thought some of the stuff he may have thought about it at home. Like, yeah, like Plan 9 from Outer Space may have been voted the worst movie ever made. But like when you see his acting, what he's doing, you could tell he put real thought into this.
Oh, sure.
I'm gonna get. No, this is me. I'm Bela Lugosi, and I'm gonna give you 100% performance.
What I like about him is, he was like one of those first actors. It's like, okay, the movie might suck, but I'm going to win an Academy Award.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And somebody even said, like, during one of their reviews of Glenn or Galinda, even though it's not a horror movie, but they were saying just the way how he performed it, maybe it's because of how he got so used to performing in horror movies. Somebody said that with his performance, like that, it made it seem like as if it was right out of a horror movie. And after they said that, I was like, I'm gonna go back and rewatch it now, just to see if I could see their point. And yeah, I can see it.
And it's pretty easy to find out.
Yeah, especially since it's in the public domain.
Yeah. I have the DVD box set. It says the best of Ed Wood, but then it crosses off best and puts worst.
Ed Wood,
That's hilarious.
From what I've heard, if he lived a little longer, he actually would have probably. I think what makes Ed. I don't know if Ed Wood is necessarily the worst director of all time because.
Oh, definitely not.
Because here's my thing about Ed Wood. Unlike, hey. I mean, if I get in trouble for this one in the comments, oh well. Unlike Uwe Boll, Ed Wood has passion. Uwe Boll, it's like, can I have the money? And
yeah, I mean, it's like I do get it. They need to make money, just to survive. To pay for bills and pay for gas, pay for food, pay for clothes. Like, I do understand that, but yet. You also should do it because you genuinely love it.
And Ed Wood, I mean, the thing that sometimes I feel like people at least criticize him for, I kind of agree with him in some ways. Like when they said like, oh, like, I mean, I don't think really people pay much attention. Like when, Tor Johnson sits there, opens the door, and he hits the wall. Like to me, that's just like, I even in that one movie, I'm like, you know what, I kind of get it. You know why he chose to do that.
Mhm.
Even if that it wasn't the case, it's like, hey, I mean, it adds realism, doesn't it, Eric?
Yeah, and I mean, reminds me of that scene in the Ed Wood movie. He was like, that's something what Lobo would have a problem with
Uh,
every day.
I mean, hey, to be fair, I mean, how many times have we just had the stupid moment that's like, how the hell did I just run into the wall?
it kind of gives it. It gives it almost a more relatable quality.
Mhm.
Like it's like a little human problem that you would never see actually happen in a regular movie, but like when you see it happen like in like a movie, you're like, wow, I could see why that happened. It probably just like they didn't have it for a retake, but I could actually relate to this problem, and you're relating to it like in a different, like in a more personal way.
Certainly.
Well, I mean, think about it. Like, how many times have you been in a hurry and then you open the door and then you just bonk your head on the wall?
Yeah.
That is fair.
And then even the octopus scene, that infamous scene where they forgot the motor. I mean, Bela Lugosi, he makes it believable.
Right, yeah.
I mean,
that's amazing.
I wrote it. I have a short story in this anthology book called the Ed Wood's Warm Angora Wishes and Rubber Octopus Dreams, and I wrote a short story in it called Mr. and Mrs. Ghoul, and it was like all the stories are inspired by Ed Wood's movies, and it was easy to get into that mindset and like think of all like the unique like cast of characters that he had in his movies and the way like that earnestness of how he wrote.
Yeah. I can definitely see that.
And there's a part of me wonder if he would have lived a little longer, like what would Bela's reaction be to Night of the Ghouls?
Well, and you could tell it was supposed to be because the character is Dr. Acula. You could tell that would have been Bela Lugosi,
right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's just a shame that Ed Wood died when he did, because it was just a few years after he died, like was when he finally got the recognition that he truly should have gotten, like for all that time, and so it's definitely a real shame.
I think honestly, if Ed Wood lived a little longer, he probably would have gotten some recognition. But I also actually could see it where maybe in the '80s he would have gotten a bit of a second chance after doing the literally bottom of the barrel movies that don't require much directing at all. So like I don't know, like I mean I know that the director of Friday, Friday Heart 5, I believe, right? That he directed those type of movies before, so I would have been interested to see like Ed Wood, see what would happen to him in the '80s. Like what would he have directed?
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, it really makes you curious, I mean, just to get deep here, like with like the whole thing about the butterfly effect, it definitely really makes you think pretty deeply, about that.
Oh yeah. And I mean, even I mean, I know, I don't know if like, I know that Todd Browning, kind of, he liked working with Bela, but not as much as Lon Chaney. But Lon Chaney, just what I find interesting about Lon Chaney is this man was a guy who didn't, you never heard him speak, and I can actually argue this to some extent because yes, he has one speaking movie, but if you think about it, he was having throat cancer at that time.
That is fair.
So that probably was not even his real voice.
That is fair.
Yeah.
And and then Todd Brown, because he was going to play he was going to play Dracula, Lon Chaney, and then they found Bela Lugosi on stage, and he was like the last choice.
He
Like
was.
Yeah.
they were talking about like Paul Muni, which for those who don't know, the original Scarface, which I don't know. I think some of the other choices, it's like maybe, but then you're like, no, like there's some people like I was like, oh, I could see that guy as this guy, but when you think 1931 Dracula, it's no, I can't really see anybody else,
It's because Bela, he brings so much special to the role. Like as great as Lon Chaney is, as great as Paul Muni, and Conrad Veidt was another one. They're
Yes.
It's Bela. It's what makes the character in that movie is really Bela's personal stamp on it. That no, I mean no one we're doing the accents. No one else is gonna say a line
essentially,
like that,
essentially what it is think about it, like he is the Christopher Reeve to Dracula. Nobody ever will. I mean, people probably come close to being the second best Superman, but people say, "Oh, they'll say, oh, he's not as good as Christopher Reeve." That's what Bela is. He's people, and I think I think what actually helps it is he's the closest we've ever gotten. I mean, I think maybe in some low budget movie that nobody's heard of, they've gotten an actor actually from Transylvania, but he's the closest we actually have gotten. So I think that helps a little bit too,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, with the whole Christopher Reeve thing, I definitely never thought of it that way. Well, like about how, I mean, you have a very good point about how Bela Lugosi, like he pretty much is the equivalent to that, like, but just with the Count. I never ever thought of it that way, but it makes sense.
Yeah, it's a personal stamp on the character. Even you could like really like you could show someone a picture of Christopher Reeves as Superman, not tell them this is they may never have seen the movie, but they know right away that's Superman.
Exactly.
And same with Bela Lugosi. You show them a picture of him as Dracula, they may not have seen the movie, especially if they're really young, but they know that's Count Dracula.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And you just have to thank to the point now where, like, think about it, super comics to this day are even still basically drawing Christopher Reeve.
Yeah.
And then how many? I mean, now there's entire serials based on Count Dracula that's basically Bela Lugosi.
Right? Yeah. And when they they make a Halloween card and it's Dracula, it's basically Bela Lugosi.
Yep.
And
it's like it is him, but it's also not. Even when it's not, you can clearly tell that it's supposed to be him. And I mean, heck, even the Count off of Sesame Street, like it clearly is the Lugosi one.
Right? Yeah.
Yes, and I gotta say, even that's one thing that helped doing the accent correctly too. Because just learning, even trying to do it properly, was just repetition, trying to mimic that voice. Because as a kid, you always just think, man, he has such a cool voice,
He does, and it's like. And it's like that this like perfect level of theatricality too. It's the accent combined with this level. It never gets when I see someone do like a Dracula imitation. I'm trying to tell them, I say, don't go too bouncy, because I feel like that's the temptation, is to do that. I want to drink your blood. No. You need style, but keep it real.
I want to drink your blood.
Yeah.
Like I think Bela, if he ever. Like if he lived long enough to do cons, he would have sit there and probably told us like on how to do it. Like, I don't know how to word this, but like don't be too cheesy with it. You have to find that proper balance of cheese but no cheese. And but then sometimes then Bela would do some overacting, but he was one of those very rare actors that could overact, and it was not overacting.
Right? Yeah.
Like I know it's they kind of didn't take the proper wording a little bit, but in Glenn or Glenda, pull the string,
Oh, the stream.
Yeah.
pull the string. It's
Yeah.
like that's so overacting, but Bela just has a way of having that
Well,
softer
it
sound.
makes you don't like you have to think about it for before you just because it actually like when you see him do it, it feels natural.
Mm-hmm.
It
It
does.
feels natural.
And then on top of that, those lines he was speaking made no sense about pull the string,
Uh,
beware the dragon, he eats little boys, puppy dog tails,
but
big fat snails. Like, what does that have
yeah,
anything to do with the rest of the
uh,
movie? And this dragon is never mentioned again,
uh,
has no relevance to the plot. It,
Well,
it's so absurd, but
he
what
makes you believe it.
exactly
He makes you believe. You have to step back and think like, what did that have to do with anything? But when you see him do it, you be like, of course he says that. Like it feels right.
it's that great verisimilitude.
Yeah,
and what makes it memorable is not the lines, it's the way how Bela did it.
yeah.
Yeah, like and that goes to show that he can take the most absurd dialogue,
Mhm.
like Bela even could say poppy pop pop pop,
Uh-huh.
but
That.
it's just but it's the way how he says it I like that makes it
Mhm.
memorable. And yeah, and you mentioned about horror cons. And now makes me curious as to when did they exactly start doing horror cons?
They started some of them at least in the early '60s when some of them were starting but they weren't as prevalent. Like actually, what made cons as we know them today was Star Wars,
I'm not surprised.
because that's how they marketed to Star Wars, because they knew George Lucas was a marketing genius. He knew that the young people were going to these cons, and so because Star Wars was supposed to be a throwback to Flash Gordon and everything. So he went to cons and everything, and he knew that Star Trek was also big at cons. So he kind of one of the things he did, from what I've heard, again, when myth becomes fact, print the legend. He got a booth next to the Star Trek booth, and made Star Wars what it is. And I mean, so I guess you've pretty much seen every Bela Lugosi thing out there,
But
right?
I'm not surprised.
Um, so let's see. What's what like even you know? Let's see. What's a movie that you think that more Bela Lugosi fans should definitely watch
I
besides
mean,
besides Dracula?
I definitely recommend the Black Cat.
That's a good one.
Because I feel he for those who haven't seen it, he plays Dr. Vitas Fergast, who's a World War One veteran who's like sort of haunted by the memories from the war and is out for revenge. And it's this amazing performance where you still get that great Bela Lugosi theatricality, but also this you could feel when he's talking about the war that he's haunted by those memories. It feels so genuine because
Well,
Bela really was in World War One, and those moments where he's talking about it, they feel so real and are so powerful.
well, yeah, no, I think being actually in the war probably helped that performance,
Yeah.
because I mean, and think about what he went through during the war. I mean, what was it? Because he was from Austria-Hungary, and then basically when the war was, I mean, his country lost the war,
Yeah.
and to the point where now it's Austria, Hungary, and all of his country got divided to the point where I think that there was something like they couldn't actually find his where he was born, Lugosi, Hungary, on the map. So it's this weird little thing with him. It's like, wow, think about that one. It's like,
Yeah. Because correct me if I'm wrong. I think it's Romania now, and they spell it a little differently now.
I believe so. Yeah.
I think so. Yeah. So he's the close. You know, I think that he like I honestly the stories about Bela Lugosi. Like I know Martin Landau did a great job and everything, but I would love to see somebody like I would like to see a Bela Lugosi biopic. Really.
Oh my god.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I'm trying to think. Okay, I think Wes Bentley, who played the Devil's Son in the Ghost Rider movie, like with Nick Cage. I definitely can see him doing it.
I got somebody.
Who?
Well, he's from Croatia. Goran Vishnik is his name.
Okay, I'm gonna look him up. What is his name?
Just type in Goran V. I don't know how to pronounce how to speak.
Okay, Goran. Is that what the G?
Yes.
Goran. What? Sorry.
Just type in V. And it's Vishnik.
Maybe Goran V. Act.
It's Vishnik, but it's like spelled weird because I'm not Croatian. So
Okay. Okay, I'm looking him up. Yeah, I can. Oh, turns out he was in the new Hellraiser. He was in Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. He was in ER. Doctor Who.
Cool.
Okay. Yeah.
Cool. That'd be a really good choice. And I have to say, Bela Lugosi's life is so fascinating. I think it could be like a Netflix series, or like where it's instead of just like one movie. I think like multiple installments.
Lugosi Enterprises, call us. Eric will direct it.
Oh yeah. It would be an honor, and yeah, and I just feel like that if you did a biopic or a series about Bela Lugosi, you know, it's a no-brainer. Like you just gotta have the dun 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 dun.
Yeah. Oh heck yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's to me that's like that's the Dracula theme song. You know, you even in the Ed Wood movie, they use like pieces of that for their character of Bela Lugosi. Like it just you hear that it has the
Well, and the great thing about that song, right?
It's public
domain.
So you
can't. And so I mean, I used it even in one of my films that people didn't like. They said, but and everything. But no, it was, and I kind of used it. I used the full version of it, but it's just it's a very beautiful piece of music.
It is.
I mean, Tchaikovsky's one of my favorite composers, whatever you want to call them, musicians in general, because I mean, you have to think what those people, especially what he was going through at that time. I mean, his country was on the brink of revolution, Tchaikovsky. And then here he's writing these like beautiful pieces of music, Swan Lake, which is a very haunting play.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine.
And then he wrote The Nutcracker, Sleeping Beauty, which, we all know some of that music, Once Upon a Dream, and everything. And, I just feel like, and plus, like, some of those, I'm not criticizing a lot of actors now, but, like, they don't have that, like, sometimes I feel like some actors now, it's like, I got a paycheck. They just don't, like, have that proper passion, it's like, like, I'm going to win an Academy Award,
Right. And you feel that with every Bela Lugosi performance. Like, you could tell, like, like you could tell he worked on it at home. He thought about it. He was planning ideas out, and that's what's so amazing is no matter what role you see him in, like even if it's like those 5 minutes of Plan 9 from Outer Space, you're getting his heart and soul into his character.
I would love to see somebody do that script that Ed Wood was planning before he did Plan 9 from Outer Space with, actually with Bela Lugosi.
That'd be really interesting, and with Vampira's original dialogue too.
Right?
Oh,
Because
yeah,
was that like is that my question is that script out there somewhere?
I hope so.
And technically, you could argue, since Plan 9 is public domain, the script should also be public domain too.
That would make sense.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and speaking of that, I haven't seen it yet because I just don't know where to find it. But I know they did a remake of Plan 9. Have you guys seen it?
They did. Yeah. It actually does have James Rolfe in it. Like from Cinemassacre. I believe he plays a cop in it.
Well, have you seen it, Eric, or no?
I have not. I definitely know that it exists, but I haven't gone around to seeing it.
And I don't know. To me, for those who say that Plan 9 is the worst movie of all time,
No.
I mean, have you seen the one that I think is the worst movie of all time? Manos, Hands of Fate.
Oh
I
God. In that movie.
I can review that movie. Like if I actually did commentary for that movie, it would just be me snoring throughout the whole movie. That would be more enjoyable than the movie.
This would be my review of it.
Actually,
so you guys aren't recommending it to me then?
No.
well,
I mean, you would be better off watching the clouds move in the sky.
Well, you know what? I'll say this: don't watch it alone. But if you do, I'm going to say you need to get caffeinated and drunk. Maybe even do some cocaine too.
Oh yeah, Bobby. That reminds me. During the last interview, you told me about Sharkula, and then I got curious about it. Just a morbid curiosity after how you said it was bad. I watched it. Oh gosh, the acting was bad. Yeah, like what you said, even Dracula's costume, it looks like it came from Spirit Halloween.
Yeah.
And what's people complain about the special effects in Sharknado, but even the effects in Sharknado were better. Like they used a toy shark.
I think I could top that.
Sharkula. Oh God, you definitely were right. That movie was bad.
I watched a movie that I regretted watching that was kind of on that level.
What?
Catnado.
Catnado.
Yes, like is that all it takes now? Like I've seen some of these movies on Tubi, and it's like, man, I don't want to watch these because I've seen some of them. The Meth Gator, or Lava Rantula. Like, is that all it takes now? Like, I'm just gonna come up with the most absurd concept to make a movie now.
Like now, what's next? Like mixing veggies in a tornado, call it Veggie-nado.
Apple-nado.
There you go.
Wow.
Or
cookie NATO, and it happens on Christmas.
oh no, Apula.
Yeah,
that would be funny.
There's just, but no. Even so, Eric, with you moving to Atlanta, you need to get this guy for Turner Classic Movies.
Certainly.
For a Bela Lugosi month or something, because.
Absolutely, yeah.
You mean me?
Yeah.
Oh, I would love that. Yeah, I would love that.
Because
mine as well.
You seem to know, a lot. I liked watching last year because your knowledge of Lugosi is interesting. Who knows? Maybe he could write the script for the Lugosi series.
Thank you so much. Yeah, well, I'm asking. I just like love learning about him and everything, and it's like so like, and like all the like Bela Lugosi historians I've ever talked to have always been like so nice. I'll ask some questions and they always give me like a response. So yeah, like the author that Bob Kramer, who's working with Lynn Lugosi Sparks to release a new biography of the Lugosi, the man behind the cape. I'll message him and he always answers me. So it's like everyone has been like you know, I read the books, everything I can consume, but like everyone has also been so encouraged. Like everyone in like the Bela Lugosi Dracula community has always been like so encouraging me and teaching me things.
Oh yeah, certainly. And
So the Lugosi fan base is not like the Star Wars or Halloween of horror.
Or even the Sonic, or even the Sonic the Hedgehog fan base. Like when Sonic 4 came out, they made such a fuss about Sonic's eyes being green, but little did they know about what they had with the design. You probably know where I'm getting at.
You know.
Oh God, that.
You know, there is it wrong with me? I am curious now to see the original Sonic with that design.
I am too. I'm morbidly curious, and Bobby probably knows what.
I think they should actually embrace it. I think they should embrace it and call it the crappy cut.
Yeah. That would have been funny. That would have.
Well, I mean, hey, it's not out. It's not. Maybe they'll do that for marketing for Sonic 3, right?
They might, yeah. And I mean, to imagine if they would have kept that god awful design. I mean, we probably never would have had Sonic 2, Sonic 3, or even the Knuckles TV show. I mean, that old design was so bad. I can see Jigsaw from the Saw movies using that as a torture device on all of his victims.
Yeah. Did you ever you know, I guess I'll get your thoughts on this. You know, they made that Dracula comic book series where Bela's like in the book.
Mm-hmm.
Where they actually gave him fangs. And I know the Lugosi Enterprises was like hesitant about giving him a mustache.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I guess what are your thoughts? Do you think they should have just, if they want to follow the book, give him the mustache, or
see I'm kind of in agreement about like hesitant about the mustache. The fangs I feel are different because I mean you're doing Dracula in a visual medium, so like I feel like when I like because I like for my cosplay when I played Dracula at the Haunted House, at first I was hesitant about fangs too because like Bela Lugosi didn't have them, but then I thought for like a visual medium I could see where like you might do that, but the mustache I feel is going too far because I feel like that's like now you're going closer to the book and away from Bela Lugosi. And I feel like part of what the power of Bela Lugosi did is I feel he's almost like a co-creator of the character. So I feel like the mustache maybe, especially if it's like throughout. If it's like a few images of this one thing, but like I feel like if it was like a throughout, I feel like that's going a little bit too far.
That makes sense. You know, and one of the things I always find interesting that I always tell people about this is like how one of Bela Lugosi's roles on stage, he played Jesus.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is really ironic considering that he also played the Prince of Darkness.
Well, so I'm just trying to imagine.
I could see it though, because as Dracula, he has this like ethereal quality where he kind of feels like he's from hell. So I could see him like doing that, but like it being like an ethereal, more heaven-like quality.
Well, so I never thought of it. But I'm just imagining, Father, forgive them not, but they not know what they do. It just doesn't sound. It's just, or you know, or it just anything you say in that accent. No, I'm not discrediting Bela Lugosi, but anything I say in that accent, it's like I just am trying to imagine that coming out of Jesus, you know, or you know, bless you. It just sounds. We're just so used to hearing him play evil that it's just like
yeah.
It's like,
Oh, so I looked it up. There actually do exist pictures of Bela as Jesus, and
yeah,
I'm pretty sure that Bobby has seen these pictures. Man, it's weird to,
it's well,
It's like
it's
you
weird.
see, and
It's weird because the pictures, like, you see it, but it almost looks like it's pictures. Yes, we know that, but it's way they're like done. They look like paintings almost.
yeah, it does. It just kind of makes me wish that there was video footage like to go along with it. Yeah, 'cause,
Well,
that definitely would be nice to have. But yeah, wow,
well,
this
well,
is
if I
because
could,
like
well,
weird.
because the photos, like you could see like through his eyes, like he's in character. Like you get an idea of what it was like. But yeah, wouldn't it be amazing to see video of him as that?
oh yeah, because it's like, well, even some of the other stage roles he played, like, I mean, it's one of those cases you wish video cameras existed. Like, hey, I mean, come on, I'm sure if any of us travel back in time, just sneak the video camera.
Right? Yeah. and
All-
guess
and-
what? If you travel back in time to that, they won't know what it is.
well,
You could do
Yeah,
well,
it.
they'll be like,
well,
"What in the world's that?" And,
Yeah.
and and I can't help but wonder if I have seen this happen in movies, like where when they go back
yeah,
to the
just
past and then they inadvertently change it.
Uh,
Like say when they come back to the present, they then come back to a world where rather than intelligent humans, it's now like intelligent squirrels or something.
uh,
That would be funny.
uh,
I well, actually, I'm kind of a little off topic, not really big a little Lugosi. I've observed this world, like this series on History Channel. Now, keep in mind, this is History Channel, not Future Channel. It's called After Earth. Not that really bad Will Smith movie, but it was where they're talking about what scientists believe is going to happen after Earth. They actually said that they believe that pigs will be the dominant species.
Huh? Well, I mean, pigs are pretty intelligent, but
Well, can you just imagine that? Instead of Planet of the Apes, now somebody is going to make Planet of the Pigs.
uh,
that would be interesting.
is
Or I even saw it happen, I believe in Rick and Morty, where it was intelligent dogs. And what was really funny in it is like that all of the dogs in it wanted revenge on the humans. And so that rather than the dogs getting neutered, it's now the people who are.
Hey! You know what you can name one of the pigs?
What?
Bacon.
That would be funny.
But no, I don't know. You know, it's even. I know sometimes people have said that Bela's in this silent movie, and they can never confirm if it has. Have you spotted him in any of those movies, and do you believe it's him? Like, there's so many
examples
of it. Like,
right. I just, I don't know because I feel like someone who's actually like trained to like identify, like it know is like actually good at identification would be better than me because I mean I'm not like it does kind of look like him, but I'm not sure. Like I can't positively say.
Mhm. I know because I know he was an extra in some very early 1920s movies. Like, I think there was one with, I'm, I mean, he is, I mean, I wouldn't doubt it because he was just a working actor
He's
for
a working
years.
actor, yeah. So I mean, it's like I can't say either way, but I could definitely. I mean, because I mean, he was a working, like you said, he was a working actor, so I could definitely see him like going in doing whatever, and also because like even in his later career, he he took the same level of like seriousness for any role. He believed that being on camera was important to see audiences see
Mhm.
you. So I could definitely see him taking any size role just like to keep getting himself out there.
Mhm. Well, and think about it. Like, most people at 49, when he got the role, would have just given up on acting already
Yeah.
and he
Yep.
never did. And I'm I even want to see the one thing I would love to see is a biopic even about his son and the court cases for Lugosi, for Universal versus Lugosi, because that is a fascinating story.
It is. As a matter of fact, I believe even when we talked to Lynn, I believe you even brought that up to her, and you even asked her who she would want to play her father, and she was like, "Yeah, I don't know, but yeah, so Bobby, I guess now we'll ask you that question: who do you think should play Bela's son in a movie?"
Gee,
You know
it's
what? Well, I'll let our guest answer first, but I have an interesting choice.
Okay.
that's a really good question. So he would be. How old would Bela Lugosi Jr. be at that point?
Well, it's kind of difficult because
Or would you start? Or would you start it when he first found out that they were doing the thing, and like he gets older as he goes along?
well, I think you would have to
That's a good
cast
question.
I would say at least cast an actor in his 40s because the court ended when he's in his 40s. So
Yeah, that's a really great question.
do you want me to say mine and then you'll
Yeah,
think
say
about
yours. Say yours. Yeah, I have a hard time doing these
I was
things.
gonna say Christian Bale.
Ooh,
Interesting choice. I wouldn't have thought of him.
I really like that. For like first of all, he would. I feel like it's how like just because I mean just from seeing like Bela Lugosi Jr. like in interviews, it seems like there's a almost like his not almost like his dad, where there's definitely a seriousness to and a hardworkingness to doing accomplishing your goals.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like Christian Bale, and that you have that intensity, that work ethic. Where I'm going to do what I'm set out to do, and also you also have the stunt casting element too, which I think is cool because he played Batman. Now I'm playing the son of Dracula.
Yeah, and therefore it would be a connection to him with bats.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and,
Well, and I also
and
think
I just thought of this. Wait, oh, sorry.
oh, I was gonna say why I pick Christian Bale is because I think that he would actually like try to find a try to like find like look at the court case, because the court case, I mean, it's all public record, you can look at it, and but I think he would also try to look at like what the person on the typewriter was saying too, and try to really embody that character, and that's one of the reasons why I love Christian Bale as an actor. So
Yeah, certainly. I mean, Christian Bale could do it, and I just thought of this: if they wanted an older version, I could definitely see it being like Charles. I think his name's like Charles Dance. Charles, I feel like that he could both play Bela Lugosi Sr. and he also could do the son as well, because he definitely does have that look.
right,
yeah,
they could even, I mean, you could even start it when he's a teen a teenager, and you could get, I mean, they made they made, when they did, when they did Forrest Gump, they made Tom Hanks look like a teenager, so in some
yeah,
shots, so they could make Christian Bale look like a teenager. You could cast Charles Dance as like Bela,
Yeah.
I,
I know, and I even know, but no, I really, um, the one thing I find interesting too, there's, what we've heard with Lynn is that there's even a Lugosi that wants to be a musician out there. So right now, which I don't, and like I think that'd be so cool especially if he plays like heavy metal or something like that.
could you imagine if he did like a cover of Bela Lugosi's Dead?
That would be awesome. And yeah, and funny because on Halloween I went to karaoke and I did sing that at karaoke.
Yes.
But the one thing that people were complaining about at karaoke, they were saying, yeah, this intro is way, way, way too long. And so, and then when they did the Vampire Diaries, I believe, they actually did have a cover of that song, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's why the intro and that is much much shorter.
Well, I have a question. I have a question with that one. Like, why didn't that? You know, what that band should have done. And hey, it's not too late. I think they're still active. They need to do Boris Karloff's Dead, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
might as well.
I mean, I I I have a funny story when I first heard that song. It's not on YouTube anymore, but there was somebody recorded this. It was Elvira hosting MTV for Halloween night. And so it was all like horror movie themed music videos, and it was Elvira hosting it. And that's the first song they played, Bela Lugosi's Dead.
That's so cool.
And, well, no, it was really cool because it was Elvira at Salem, like, which of course, right?
Uh,
Now I feel like if they did that now, which I mean, I didn't see the interview yet, but I know I heard something. Shameless plug for other podcast that has far more subscribers than Michael Rosenbaum's podcast. He interviewed Cassandra Peterson and said that she might be retiring Elvira.
wow.
Interesting. Well, I guess she's at that point.
Well, she's 73 years old and
Yeah.
looks amazing.
She looks amazing. I guess that's why I was shocked when you said that, because like she looks amazing.
She does.
Yeah,
She really does. And I even heard at one point that Vampira was trying to sue her.
Mhm.
I mean, I do understand why. It's because the Elvira is very similar. I mean, even the name sounds like it, and wears that vampire costume and a TV host. So I can understand why that she did it.
There was more to the story a little bit than that. Vampira, they were going to revamp the Vampira show because the host on that night, Seymour, passed away, and so they were going to revamp the Vampira show. And when Mila Normie decided, she can't do it because I think she basically just decided she doesn't want to do it. They asked her, "Can we just replace you?" And she said, "Yeah, of course." And they actually did pick somebody. I think it was like, I can't remember who it was. I want to say it was like Deanne Warwick or something. It was a black singer back in the day. But then it was not for what people are going to say it is, but it was for a they saw Cassandra Peterson's audition and they said, "We like her, but can you kind of do more of a Valley Girl sort of thing with it?" Because that's what she based on. It was this Valley Girl thing she played for, because she was a member of the Growlings, an improv comedy group. And she said, with that character, can you kind of make it a little more dark and everything? So that kind of became the part of Elvira. So and then when she saw it, I think that basically, from what I've gathered, from what I've heard, Mila Normie was just jealous of Elvira because basically she saw an opportunity where she could have had a comeback, and then Elvira became more popular than her. So
So I can understand why there would be some jealousy there. So yeah, I mean, just adding fuel to the fire, and then there's a story. Oh wait, sorry.
I have a question because I read the Vampira biography, and so where did like that information come from? Because the Vampira side is like a different version of that story.
That was I thought I read that like on their Wikipedia at one point, and during the productions of like movie Macabre.
Because in the Vampira story, I think it was written by her niece.
Mm-hmm.
And in that book, it said that what they were doing, and like she talked about it too. And then Vampire talked about it like in interviews that the station wanted to redo the Vampire show, and that they were aware that Milo Nurmi was like not to be mean, but like a little bit too too old to play the Vampire character, and but they wanted her to co-produce, and co-write, and play like other characters. And apparently but her condition, Milo Nurmi's condition was that she find and trained a new Vampira, and she had like an idea, like to do like a contest, like to do it to find the person, and she worked on like the on the show. And if you look at the sets are like similar, and like the format is similar. But then they hired Cassandra Peterson without telling her, and then Vampira wouldn't. Milo Nurmi wouldn't sign the contract. So at the last minute, they changed it to Elvira. Because as my interpretation is, I could see the characterization is different, but it's like the format and the trappings of the.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what is true? Obviously, we weren't there, so
Yeah.
And you can hear it from the horse's mouth and everything too. But I think it's probably if you kind of look at lots of stuff like that, it's usually if there's two sides, usually the two sides of the story are somewhere kind of in the middle.
Right. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
I know Cassandra Peterson was not the original choice. It was a black actress. I can't remember her name, but and I don't think it was for the obvious reason what people are going to point out on why they didn't cast her. I'm pretty sure they just like Cassandra Peterson better, which honestly, I would say that, I know that even Cassandra Peterson has said that, she never even knew who Vampira was. So, because she was only on the first season for like one season, right?
Yeah, it was a year at KBC, but it was very, because it was a local show. It only aired in Los Angeles, but they did Life magazine did a 3-page spread, so all the major newspapers and magazines followed. So even though it was only a local show that aired in Los Angeles, she actually had fan clubs all over the world.
Right. And by the way, I know some of her footage has been found, but I wish somebody could find that footage of her.
Yeah, because there's only about 3 minutes of the Vampira show, and then like her on the Red Skeleton show, and I think on the George Gobel show. Like there's it's almost the entire series of the Vampira show was lost.
Well, and yeah, I mean, so somebody there might be hope. I mean, maybe somebody there's a mine here in Kansas where they actually have a lot of old film reels. Some of them are actually unarchived. So some of them are going through it, but the biggest problem is there's so much of it that's
right.
It's like, I mean, hey, if they pay me, I'll go through the entire catalog category.
Yeah.
And if I find London After Midnight, I'm making a fortune.
Oh heck yeah! I hope if they pay you for that, I hope you find everything.
Well, Eric, I even said that the script is out there. You should direct London After Midnight, right?
Oh yeah, certainly so. And I mean, it definitely would be a huge honor. I mean, considering that that's like the holy grail of lost movies for somebody to find it. I mean, I even feel fortunate that we even found the 1910 Thomas Edison Frankenstein. And what's really funny, I've had so many people say to me, "Oh, you're young, you don't watch old movies." I'm like, the oldest movie I've seen is from 1910, and it's the Thomas Edison Frankenstein. As soon as I say that, they will instantly shut their mouths, and then they'll instantly realize I was wrong.
I've seen movies from, technically they were Nickelodeons at the time, but I've seen the ones from 1888, some of the earliest movies you can watch. So, I know that I always hope that we can find a lost film out there, because they just recently found one of the Golem movies recently that's been lost for years, right?
So it's like you never know it's like possible to be found. Oh, you know what I hope it gets found too. The I read that the Broadway cast of Dracula with Bela Lugosi and Bernard Jukes, who we have no video of, did a like condensed radio adaptation of the Broadway play Dracula while the show was on Broadway, and that's lost. That would be amazing to be found.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And yeah, I just really wish that there was that footage too, like of when Bela played Dracula
Right.
up on stage.
Where
I
was
really, really wish that we had that, or like at least pictures of it.
Yeah,
was that filmed in would that have been filmed, I guess, in New York or something then?
yeah. It was just on radio, but yeah, that was I think it was filmed in New York. It was like a show that did that. They would do like condensed versions of Broadway.
Yeah. No, I know what you're talking about. It have to. I mean, the only thing I could think of is that would have to be like in a warehouse in New York City. Which,
God.
good luck. Good luck. I mean, well, like, the funny thing is they actually think that there might be a copy of London After Midnight in Argentina,
I hope.
but they can't. But there's like a weird thing with the government there where they won't give us that.
Oh.
It's like, you know what, at that rate, you know what I would do if I had that film footage?
What?
I would just accept the fact, okay, I'm gonna go to jail if I lived in Argentina, and I would just leak it on YouTube, right?
In the words of Bugs Bunny, of course you realize this means war.
Yeah. Like, you know, come on. It's like you sit there, Eric. You sit there, like, come on. You tell people, why did you go to jail? Oh, I killed people. Oh, I robbed a store. I leaked London After Midnight on YouTube. You know, it's in public domain.
Yeah, like it just sounds so petty, you know, to go to jail over that.
Because it's not going to cause any like government disruption or anything like that. It's just going to enhance the world of the arts.
Well, I think that I think they that's where they think a lot of lost movies are, because a lot of directors back to the Orson Welles included would actually take their movies to Argentina to get it away from the guys who would sit there. We don't like this in your movie. We don't like that in your movie. Like, you know, they took it, because I know Todd, like, that's where they think the original cut of Freaks is too, which, oh my gosh, you guys want to talk about no pun intended, a freaky movie. Eric, have you seen Freaks?
Yes.
Yeah. I have, and that's going to be going public domain here soon. And it's
God.
just a shame, like, that some of the deleted footage from that movie is also, you know, is lost. It's because at that time there was no such thing as DVDs or anything like that. And so it's a real shame.
They didn't see the value of it, you know, like.
Freaks, I think that was an MGM property at the time, which that's not really much of an MGM movie if you really think about it at that time. I mean, MG, and you know, and then
it doesn't have that Mickey Rooney vibe at all.
Or Mickey Rooney, or it's like, I have to wonder, did Louis B. Mayer see this movie, or did they just?
Oh my god! Like, you imagine if the movie started with Mickey Rooney saying, "Hey kids, let's put on a show," and then the movie Freaks starts.
Goo goo gaga.
And you know, I just realized this. Since that movie is going to go public domain, well, I mean, definitely not next year, but, you know, sometime in the future. I believe 2028 when it goes PE. I won't be surprised at that time, you know, that we'll finally get a sequel, and we might get a remake. We also might get like a play version of it. So,
you know, there would be that if they ever did a sequel to that movie, that would actually be interesting. I mean, especially in today's society, because you would get people sitting there probably trying to cancel it. You know, because,
I can see that, you know, because they probably would say, "Oh, it's making fun of people with disabilities." So I can definitely see people doing that.
But
I heck, like even when Steamboat Willie went went PD this year in January, I saw people were saying, "Oh, this is cruelty to animals." Like seeing how that
it's
Mickey Mouse like would use the animals like as musical instruments and all that. So yeah, I mean, cultures definitely have
um,
changed.
well, you could kind of argue Mickey Mouse himself is an animal, so aren't animals already cool to animals because they eat other animals?
That is fair, yeah.
And no, well, like, well, a lot of the a lot of those people at the circus, people don't realize that P.T. Barnum, they loved him because he gave them jobs
Mhm.
when a lot of people would reject them because of the way they looked, and they loved P.T. Barnum. Like, yeah, they were a show attraction, but like it put food on the table for him. And Tom Thumb, I mean, became one of the richest people in the world at
Yeah.
that time, and you know, I mean,
Yeah, yeah, there was a dark side to to the industry, and people were exploited. But then other people, but that wasn't all. That wasn't all there was. There was people
mhm.
who really made who made a great living doing it, and
Oh yeah,
who were happy. You know,
well, every
the
every
one I think her name is I might be saying it wrong, but is it Schultze from Freaks?
Yeah,
The one who has like
you're right.
the head that the she when she oh, no it was no he was a man, he was a man who would but there was where the he was like the lady alias, and at the end of his life um he was in like was in a home and was depressed, and then we went back on the road and he lit up again.
Hmm.
He loved being in that like he loved performing.
Hmm. Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is that there's, I mean, any industry that you want to get into is going to have a dark side.
Yeah,
oh, it will.
And
And I also feel like any industry you get into, it's always going to have its rejection
yeah,
involved. Like, case in point, when I left Albertsons, I was trying to find a new job and I tried to get a job at PetSmart. I was trying to get a job at PetSmart is because I really love pets and I especially love dogs. And so I thought, hey, me getting a job at PetSmart would be great for me. But, I got rejected from that job. I mean, it sucked, but honestly, it ended up being better for me anyway because then I got the job at the hospital, and the hospital, it pays better than PetSmart anyway. It has better hours, it has better insurance, and so yeah,
yeah, and well, I mean, for ever since you know, ever since that thing that happened in 2020, for me, I just went from job to job to job, and I went months without one. With and now I have a job like, yeah, I only work like an hour, maybe two. I make about $75 a week, but I'm not complaining because, and I just feed horses, so I can't complain, and plus the horses seem to like me, except I mean, except for a few of them, but those are just the troubled horses.
yeah. Can't please everybody, you know.
oh definitely, yeah, and
I,
especially when it comes to the world of horror movies, because there are people like us who love horror movies, but
and
there's definitely those people
well,
who don't. But
well, I'm one of those more that I see the value in horror movies. I'm not really like the biggest fan. Like my forte is more the. I really can't say Bela Lugosi ever did one, but I'm more of the fan of the big grand Hollywood epics. I mean, so but that's what I'm more a fan of. But no, I see the value in horror because I mean, a lot of great actors started their career in it, and
yeah,
I mean,
Jamie Lee Curtis, Jennifer Aniston.
Boris Karloff, Bela Lugosi, Vincent
uh,
Price.
Yeah,
oh, Clint Eastwood. He was in. He has a small part in Revenge of the Creature.
Yeah,
he did.
and and the movie Tarantula, and he's the hero in the movie. Um, you know, which by the way, anybody that movie is pretty awesome to see if anybody hasn't seen a tarantula. It's just one of those giant 50s monster movies just about a giant tarantula. So, and it's really cool to see Clint Eastwood at the end of the movie. So
It is.
You know, I think so. I know Eric kind of asked you a little bit. I think I'm really looking kind of forward to a lot of the good like Dracula projects and even some of the non-vampire movies that Bela did going public domain soon.
I am too. Like to think of how much more available they'll be for people to see, especially because nowadays it's a lot of most people like will get movies like through streaming and stuff like that. So like
Tubi.
Tubi, yeah. So like it being on public domain, like when people ask me how do I see them, they'll all be there. So I think it's gonna be giving me like so much more exposure.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, certainly, yeah. And I mean, especially considering that that's how most people like watch movies nowadays anyway. And, and all those movies, they are now, look, I get it. They're horror movies and so on. Therefore, Universal sees more financial value with them during Halloween time, which is why on Peacock, they're only available on Peacock during the Halloween season. I do understand that, but at the same time, they'll have horror movies on there throughout the entire year.
Yeah.
Well, can you imagine? Can you imagine seeing it? Can you imagine though? I'll place money on this one. Now that Disney Plus is actually a disaster for Disney right now, when it goes public domain, I guarantee we're going to see Dracula on there, right?
Something tells me, yeah, they probably will.
I mean, because can you just imagine seeing Dracula on Disney?
Yes.
that's gonna be That's gonna be funny.
Bela Lugosi, he actually loved Mickey Mouse.
I had no idea.
He would like that.
I heard he loved cartoons in general. Well, I know there's that classic Bugs Bunny and Looney Tunes episode where they spoofed him, and I heard he loved that when they spoofed him.
Cool.
And then I know that there was a I remember watching Hollywood Rivals back in the day with and it was about Bela and Boris. Boris was saying to Bela, imagine when our kids are older, maybe they'll date. And he said
that would have been funny.
Bela sits there. I remember they were just because Boris and Bela, like from what I've heard, it was more of a friendly rivalry,
Yeah.
And but I still wish, Eric, we really would have gotten that though. Bela.
That would have been awesome.
Boris, like why did they not do that for the 20th anniversary? I know they would have been old, but like Dracula versus the Frankenstein monster.
Yeah.
And well, like I said, that's one of the reasons why we wanted to do it. And I know Eric did text me. I'm getting to that, dude.
Oh my gosh,
Don't say
so
his name, but yeah.
And I am so excited for you guys. Like this, it sounds amazing what you guys are working on.
Yeah, and yeah, and what's funny is that I always knew what public domain was. It's just I just never thought much of it, and I mean I just didn't have a reason to. It wasn't until when the Winnie the Pooh horror movie was announced, and when I first heard that, I was like, how are they getting away with this? Like I was like, Disney would never allow that. Then I did research. I was like, oh, it's because the book went public domain.
Mm-hmm.
And it really made me think a lot more about public domain. And so, and therefore, with me being in college, it's been really hard to keep up with content on my channel while doing schoolwork. But then when that film came out, I then thought, hey, now I know what I can do, to do schoolwork while, keep up with content. So what
Right.
I
Yeah.
started to do, I then would schedule public domain movies all throughout the entire semester, like to play on my YouTube channel. And then my channel really exploded because of that. Like, I went from not having that many subscribers to now I'm past 2,000 subscribers,
Good talk.
all because of that. And so afterwards, me and Ty here were like, okay, knowing what it did to my channel, and also seeing how much money that Winnie the Pooh horror movie made for only 50 grand, but it made $7 million. We were like, okay, money talks. And so we were like, okay, clearly there's economic value with the public domain. And so
Mhm.
him and I were on the phone one day. We were like, okay, we need to brainstorm, okay, what sort of public domain property we can take advantage of. And so we went through an entire list. We almost were going to do a Dr. Dolittle horror movie, since that the original book actually is in the public domain. And we thought, hey, that would be interesting, and it would be funny to see a Dr. Dolittle horror movie.
But then, I mean, I was more thinking like, how do you really do that? Like, Dr. Dolittle takes revenge on hunters or something, or I don't know. I thought about it. Well, even though, yes, we're well aware, to address the elephant in the room, that Dracula and Frankenstein are already in the public domain, but it's going to have more value if it's the universal ones. And then,
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then, casting an actor. Have you told?
Oh yeah, Bobby. I don't think I have. So
about Frankenstein, about the actor cast as Frankenstein.
So yeah, we cast Daniel Gilchrist, who actually did play the Frankenstein monster in a play version. So it makes it perfect. He's 7'7".
Whoa.
So he's perfect.
That's
not just because he's tall.
But no, but he's like a great actor too. But like he's got the physical size as well.
Yeah, certainly. And so it adds to it. And then we decided against the Dr. Dolittle horror movie because, we're not going to have the biggest budget. And so we thought, to get a budget for all the animal effects.
That's what I was wondering. That's what I was wondering the whole time you were saying that. Is like, how would you do those effects?
Yeah, so that's why we decided against it. And then, me doing research, I believe it was when we first got Sarah Karloff on. I wanted to ask her questions that she hasn't heard before. So then with that Winnie the Pooh horror movie, I did a lot more research about the public domain. And then I was like, wait a minute, 95 years after publication, I was like, wait, we're now in the 2020s. So that means pretty soon the 1931 Karloff and Lugosi movies are going to go public domain. So I was like, I really don't think anybody has ever asked Sarah that, what are her thoughts on those movies going public domain. And then afterwards Ty, and then watched the Cinemassacre review of Dracula versus Frankenstein from the 70s. And then James Rolfe said at the very end, somebody should remake this. And then that gave him the idea, okay, let's remake Dracula versus Frankenstein, but make it good. And then my idea was, hey, since that those movies are going public domain soon, let's have it be a sequel to those two movies. But yeah, legally, it can only be a sequel to those movies, since that, Bride of Frankenstein, Son of Frankenstein, all those other movies, those will not be public domain. I know that some people will be mad at us that, that we're not going to follow up on Bride of Frankenstein. Trust me, legally, if we could, we certainly would, but we don't want to get sued.
Right, no, definitely, yeah.
Well, legally, it's a sequel to those movies, but spiritually, it's a sequel to all of Universal.
Right, yeah.
You know, is how we're wording it, And because, I mean, and then, we were even, I'll even say this, we were trying to think of a part for you.
Oh, thank you.
And Bobby, I also sent you a message about it. I'm not saying that you have to read it right here and right now, but yeah, definitely when you get a chance, yeah, definitely check my message that I sent
Okay,
And
well,
you about it. Yeah.
and we wanted. I mean, we were at least maybe thinking a Villager or something like that. You know?
oh, I would love to do that. I would love that.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I mean, considering that I'm now moving to Atlanta, we originally were going to do the movie in Montana,
Mhm.
but since I'm going to Atlanta, Georgia, now it's.
Well,
But yeah,
he'll be close. He'll be closer in a. He'll be closer in a spot where we could film it.
yeah, because you're in Chicago, right?
Yes.
Okay, I want to look that up. How?
It's like at least it's at least eight or so hours, or so maybe 9.
Okay, according to 718 miles. So yeah, it's definitely closer to Atlanta than it is
Well,
to Montana.
there's
So
there's a there's a place in Texas where you could film it. It's a ranch in they filmed John Wayne's The Alamo there. It's a movie ranch that hasn't really been utilized too much, so it'd be like a western style town, but it could really be a unique thing for and I'm sure you could find a castle in Atlanta or Texas. So
probably, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure some rich guy, Chicago's a pretty big city. I'm pretty sure some rich guy has built a castle in Chicago somewhere. I mean, come on, Universal never ever had the exact same castle. So
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
definitely not. No. So according to research, Atlanta to Chicago, driving there would be 10 minutes. Sorry. Okay, sorry.
10 minutes.
Definitely.
Wow.
Okay, sorry.
Is that a flight
Definitely not
car?
10 minutes.
So
Definitely not.
You
It's
gotta
10 hours. 10 hours. Sorry, I completely misspoke.
Wow, I was gonna sit there and say, wow, is this Tesla's new vehicle?
That would be impressive, but yeah, it's 10 hours. It might be faster if you flew. I guess it depends on what airline that you get.
Right. Yeah. Because that would be a bigger flying might be a better option.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure we could, figure out, where you can stay
yeah.
in. All that.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, if you guys can help me with like figure out where to stay and like how to like basically navigate it like that, I would appreciate it. And if you get I would appreciate that so much.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, certainly. And
that reminds me, we need to. Yeah. I need to. I'm trying to get a hold of the leading lady that we casted. So.
And has she not gone back to you?
Maybe she's just busy.
Okay, well, if all else, if we have to go with someone else, I definitely do know of some other people. I mean, say if worst case scenario, if she's not gonna get a hold back.
Yeah, but so, I don't know. I would even like tell Eric to watch those Shandu movies from earlier, and because I think Shandu is public domain.
Possibly.
I think. So somebody needs to do because Shandu should be like a comic book series or something.
Oh my, yeah. It'd be a great, because I mean, like think of the success that Doctor Strange has had, and Shandu's basically like the inspiration for Doctor Strange. So like, I think it'd be incredible, and the villain Rockstar and the Bela Lugosi plays in the first one, like it'd be a great antagonist.
Even some of the villains in the other two. I mean, because even the radio show.
Yeah.
Because Shandu, like, if you want to see Bela Lugosi play a good guy, and then, like, I don't know, like, it's an interesting series to watch when you watch that, because it's like Bela Lugosi's the bad guy in the first one, and then he becomes the good guy in the sequels, and like, he actually plays the hero, and it's like that. In the history of Hollywood, I'm pretty sure that's never happened before.
And I love that the is like Sir's sidekick character is Bobby.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
one thing about Bela Lugosi though, it's like no disrespect to the original actor who played Shandu, but like, why do you think they just go with Bela Lugosi and get that guy as the bad guy or something? You know,
Mhm.
because it's like Bela Lugosi's better, you know,
All right.
a better actor, and it's just like hearing him sitting there, just hear his voice and everything, and you know, with because he hypnotizes you really with that performance, and so I was watching him, even there was a I think I'm drawing a blank on the name, but of course Bobby's gonna figure out as soon as he did a movie where he played a bad guy for a Gene Autry movie, or like one of the serials. It was a sci-fi movie. Like one of the episodes was literally like it was the Menace fan. One of the titles was like literally James Roll pointed this out. The title is basically similar to the Phantom Menace. Like I think it's Phantom Empire. Didn't you get a Eric? Didn't you get a copyright claim for that one?
I've gotten a copyright claim for a few of the public domain movies that I uploaded, which I shouldn't have because they're all public domain. Like when I tried to put up the Satanic Rites of Dracula up, I know that that movie is public domain, but yet, you know, I don't want to say who, but
it's crazy what will sometimes like trigger the thing, you know, like.
Well, you know why you know why they gave you a copyright claim.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say who, but somebody and then blocked the video, and I tried to appeal. I was like, no, this movie is public domain, so legally I can have it on my channel.
Well, it's because, I mean, Warner Brothers is notorious for doing stuff like that. They literally copyright. Like if I hear on my wall, I bought it with my own money. They have copyright claimed a guy because he had a poster of Batman.
What?
Yeah, it's like he owns that.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say who it was, but now you said who it is. So
I'm sorry, but no, it's like no. Sometimes they need to be, you know, called out there, you know, because it's like no, that's baloney. You know, you can't sit there and do that to people. You know, like if I bought it with my own money, then I own it.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And you know, you also are marketing and you also are promoting their own business.
Right? Yeah. I would think Warner's would want to encourage that.
Well,
yeah, so
Disney and Warner Brothers are the most notorious studios when it comes to copyright. And like for me, like if I'm gonna run my own studio. You know, if I see somebody reacting to one of my, you know, my own studio's business, you know, I'm gonna sit there tell them,
what?
Thank you, because it's like you're giving me free marketing, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And that's exactly how the Winnie the Pooh movie, you know, the horror movie, got so much attention is because it was all free marketing, like with all these articles about it, and so.
Mm-hmm. And even, you know, but like I think wasn't it the Phantom Empire or something you got a copyright claim for? Like it was some Bela Lugosi.
Yeah, it was the Phantom Creeps, which ironically it's two movies having relevance to Bela Lugosi that got me some. Now, I mean, I just got a copyright claim on the Phantom Creep, but the Satanic Rites of Dracula full on just got blocked on my channel. So
I wonder if it usually copyright it comes down to music or something. So like maybe the music is for the Phantom Creeps is not public domain, but then again though, are they it's like at this rate, are you really gonna hold on to the copyright for 8 years? Because it's gonna go public domain like what in 2032. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Are you actually doing research or something or what?
Yes, I am, because
look.
Now I am curious.
But no, was that? I think that was done by Republic, right?
I think so.
Was Bobby? Do you know? Was that done by Republic Phantom Creeps?
I think so. I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty darn sure.
Okay, so Republic is complicated on who.
Okay, so according to research, it was a man named Charles Previn, like who did the music for it.
When did he pass?
Let me look. Charles Previn. Okay, when did he die? Okay.
But Republic, according to my research, you can fact check me here.
Okay, he died in 1973.
So maybe you're looking at like 2068, maybe, but I don't know. Anyway, but Republic, I know that they became a national brand. They went out of business, and I believe that basically who owns them now is a lot of Lionsgate Entertainment now. So, but like a lot of their old serials are public domain. So public domain can be good and bad because it's, sometimes it's like, is this really public domain? But then YouTube, not to make fun of this platform, but sometimes they don't understand public domain.
Yeah, which I mean, I'm not trying to come across as a know-it-all, but I actually have encountered people like who don't even know what the public domain is.
Right. Well, and you can do whatever you want with it as long as it does not violate any trademarks, because you can own trademarks forever.
Yeah.
So,
well, as far as trademark, as long as you continuously renew it.
Yes. And believe me, anybody who sits there will argue with you that, Disney is gonna, those public domain Mickey Mouse shorts where Mickey Mouse has those gloves. Disney is going to trademark the gloves. So my advice is, if you're going to make any Mickey Mouse horror movie in the future or any Mickey Mouse project, do not have the gloves. Just don't have them. I mean, maybe you could get away with it if you used yellow instead of white, but ask a lawyer.
Oh, definitely. I mean, just to be on the safe side.
Yeah.
Because, but you know what? I guess here I'll ask Bob a question while Eric's doing a little fact checking. White Zombies in the public domain.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it is.
What would you do with a sequel to White Zombie, even though technically they kind of already made one with, Revolt of the Zombies and King of the Zombies, but
wow, you could do I would definitely. Well, you heck, bring back Murder Legendary as a zombie, but he still has his magical powers.
Yeah.
He's like a leader now, but he's a zombie, but a leader at the same time.
I think it would be interesting though. Like, first of all, I'm just gonna say his mom must have really hated him to name him Murder, right?
Yeah, they must have, and
what did you do to your mom?
It's a tough go from the start,
Yeah, I mean, no wonder he turned out the way he did, right?
So, according to research, I'm surprised that there's only one sequel, Revolt of the Zombies, because I would have thought that because it's public domain, I thought that more people would have made more sequels.
Well, there is another sequel, King of the Zombies.
Oh, then that must not be on IMDb then.
King of the Zombies, check. Which is, I don't know. Did you ever see Revolt of the Zombies, Bobby?
No, I haven't seen it.
I am really surprised. And so, according to IMDb, there was a remake in 2009 as a short film, and there was a remake in 2014, so 10 years ago now.
Okay, I guess I have to watch those movies.
Oh, yeah. The one from 2014, even looking at the poster, it looks pretty amateur. Like, it looks like something that would have been made in the 1970s, and it was made in 2014.
Huh. Well, who do you get to play Murder Legendre though? Now is the question.
looks like no one ever even saw the 2014 remake because there's not there's like 23 ratings on IMDb, and
Well,
there's not even a single written review.
so maybe that says a lot about the movie, right?
Yeah,
That
yeah, really
it's not even
nobody
worth
saw.
typing a review, right?
Yeah, or maybe just so few people know about it.
Right?
Well,
Yeah, that's.
so murder. Who do you want to get to play Murder Legendre? Which
I
first,
I'm really bad at like at that. Like it's I have a hard time with those questions. I just don't know. Like I mean, it would depend on what your budget would allow. I would just say like a really honestly, just like I feel maybe an unknown actor would be better for that. Like
Oh yeah,
right?
and like so like
Yeah.
especially if you're doing it as like a more independent film. I think you would like you take advantage of like using a like
Well,
an unknown actor for that.
yeah. Something tells me that it probably would be an independent film anyway,
Mhm.
since it's more of a cult film. So
Mhm.
I don't think that a big name studio would want to remake it, which is why that a lot of film buffs love independent films is
Yeah.
because it's really indie filmmakers like who are more so willing to take more risks.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. I I feel like the world of independent filmmaking it's such an amazing place right now where it's like you're able we're and it to me that's like the we're in such a great era of filmmaking for independent filmmaking.
Oh yeah. Um.
Oh yeah, certainly. And I mean, heck, and I mean, knowing that A Nightmare on Elm Street, that was an independent film, and yeah, and then later on, it then became what it then became what it
Yeah.
became, and so
Well,
then that's why that I get so irked whenever I hear people say, "Oh, it's an independent film, nobody will ever see it." Okay, Terrifier 3 is an independent film, and that beat Joker 2 at the box office.
Yes.
you want to know? You want to know also what also was technically considered an independent film?
What?
Star Wars.
Yeah, I actually did hear that. Yeah.
Star Wars was considered an independent film. It cost $10 million because that's the only budget that Fox could really afford for it. They thought it was going to be a movie that would just come and go, and then look what that movie did. Star Wars literally saved Hollywood, you
Right. Yeah.
know, because David Niven, one of the talk shows back in the day, like I don't think it was Johnny Carson, but one of the talk shows back in the day, like this is early '60s. He sits there and says that he believes that Hollywood would be dead like vaudeville. And then Star Wars came out, and you have to keep in mind Superman came out that year, the year after, and they both those movies literally saved Hollywood. I mean, so you know, like Terrifier, the Terrifier movies, they're saying that the slasher movies are back because of those movies, which, you know, I know like there's the argument that people say that, oh, they've gone too far with that horror, which I mean I get to some extent, but you there's that certain level of, I don't want to say the term cheese with the Terrifier movies, where obviously know it's not real.
Mhm.
They have that certain element of it where it's not real. Now, the only time I would say they go too far is if you literally got a gun and we literally saw somebody. Oh wow, you know, that's when you go too far. Eric, when do you think horror movies can go too far?
Well, I guess that depends. I guess it depends on who you ask. I mean, there are horror films that will purposely shock you just for the sake of shocking you. Like, I really feel like that's what the Human Centipede 2 did. Like, it was, sick and disturbing just for the sake of being, sick and disgusting and disturbing. But yeah, I guess with that in mind, Bobby, what are your thoughts on like the more modern day horror movies, like say The Human Centipede and all that?
I mean, like they definitely have their value. They definitely have their audience. I tend to prefer more classic horror, and even like in modern horror, I like the movie Abigail. I really like that one a lot.
Yeah,
So I like the modern ones that have a little bit more of that classic aura.
certainly, yeah, and but yeah, The Human Centipede definitely forever traumatized me mentally, and you can probably see why.
Hmm.
Because it makes you think, what if that was you? And
Right? Yeah. Yeah.
and
Exactly.
you
Yeah.
know, and that's when you know that a movie is effective. Is like when it stays with you mentally,
Mhm.
even years
Right.
and
Years
years
after.
later
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
seeing
It
it.
leaves an impression on you. They did what they set out to do.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, the only, I mean, there is that element though of the human centipede, though, obviously, where you know it's not real. But like the only time I think movies, this ain't like horror, like I said, could go too far is if we literally saw murder on screen or something.
Oh, if it was like really happening.
yeah. That case, I definitely do agree. Like if it's real murder and all that,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's morbid.
Like honestly, if that's the case, then well, that's why legally, if a stuntman or anybody dies on set, they legally cannot release that footage. It has to be destroyed. Um,
I say that's justifiable.
Hmm.
Now I know what some people might say in the comments. It was there was that thing that they reported on that there is actually they actually filmed a death in Ben Hur, which from what I've read it was shot, but yeah, that footage has been destroyed. It's just that the footage that is in the movie, that stuntman got severely hurt, but they obviously he could do it, and that's why that's why see, I think that, I mean, kind of going to here a little bit. That's one of the reasons why I think that footage of the Twilight Zone footage of the Vic Morrow incident, like that should that should have been destroyed. Like they actually should have burned all that footage, and that's why I just think that like news outlets who released that, like they should have been sued to the high heavens, because like nobody wants to see that on screen, you know.
Right. Yeah.
So, but I mean, I think that that's when horror movies could go too far. But I agree with Bobby that the classic horror movies are probably the best, even because there's something better about the gothic feel of horror. And I mean, I like slasher movies and everything, but like at least the slasher movies, they took elements from the gothic stuff. Like
Yeah.
if you watch Jason Lives, it took elements from you know from the classic Universal feel. That was Tom McLaughlin's intention. So, which I've never done the experiment, but he sit there and said that if you turn the color off, the movie really works as black and white. So
I'll have to try that.
yeah. Um, hmm, let's see what. Um, I have this DVD. It's those 50 movie packs. One of my favorite Bela Lugosi movies. I think it's called The Black Dragon or something like that.
That was cool.
Yeah, you remember that one?
Yeah. Yeah. I have one of those packs too.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I, one of my, okay, one of my favorite Bela Lugosi things that he did, um, and you could never do this now, but Mr. Wong,
Hmm.
uh, you're, and
Yeah.
yeah, and what I love is that then later Boris played Mr. Wong in the sequels,
Uh,
but the mysterious Mr. Wong, Just, you know, but I don't know, like I like, I love Bela, but I love Boris, but I feel like really Bela did just a better job because like it's like I don't know. There's something about like his Hungarian accent, that really kind of added something to that character,
Right? Yeah.
And
I agree. There's. I feel like what you said earlier is Boris Karloff. He feels more like a Hollywood actor, and Boris Karloff, he's an amazing actor.
Oh yeah.
But you could see why Boris Karloff maybe had a more successful career because he did fit in with the Hollywood set more. He did seem you could cast him in like many things, but Bela Lugosi, he brings this like personal stamp to like these roles. That like his accent, the way he says a line, he puts this like personal stamp in every role he plays. And I remember reading on the Bela Lugosi website, and it had an article written by Bela Lugosi Jr. And he talked about that even something like simple as like carving a roast, there was a certain way that Bela Lugosi did it.
Well, even when he would play Dracula, how he would sit there, how he said, when I play Dracula, I have to put myself into a trance.
Right? Yeah.
And like honestly, if you kind of think about it, I'm pretty sure nobody's ever made this comparison with Bela Lugosi, but if you think about it, he was kind of essentially, if you think about it, the first method actor.
I
never thought of it that way, but it makes sense.
I absolutely agree. Actually, that's what's so powerful about the movie Dracula is both Bela Lugosi and Dwight Frye. They were considered early method actors, and Dwight Frye, but Bela Lugosi's techniques of that's early method acting. Like you said, how he would put himself into that trance, how he would prepare for and get into character like that, and that's why he's so powerful.
Oh, definitely. So, I guess with that in mind, if you were to cast like a modern, like say, in the role of, role of Dwight Frye, say if they made a remake of a 1931 movie,
right? Yeah.
Who would you cast as Renfield?
Ooh,
I mean, me personally, I mean, I guess I'm friends with him. Looking at some of his pictures on his Instagram page, in some of his smiles, he does have that Dwight Frye smile. So I personally would go with Nikolai Leon, which funny because we're talking about the Winnie the Pooh horror movie because he actually played Christopher Robin in that movie. So I personally would go with him.
I got Nikolai would be great, but I have somebody.
Who?
Jamie Costa.
Wasn't he the one who went viral because he does that really good Robin Williams impression?
Yes.
Oh yeah, Bobby. I don't know if you've ever seen his Robin Williams impression.
No, I haven't. No.
It's spot on. Like it's so spot on where it's actually creepy. It's because it makes you feel like as if Robin Williams is back from the dead.
Well, and he looks, and there's even a joke online. It's like, he looks like Robin.
He does.
Like it's like for people who have said that, it's like, did your mother meet Robin Williams? Like it's like that level, and like even there's this one guy. He sings like Freddie Mercury. He actually did the dubbing for Rami Malek. So Queen knows who he is, and they hire Adam Lambert. But Mark Martel, I heard the joke that somebody says, "You look like Freddie Mercury, and you can sound like him." We all know where Freddie leaned, but Freddie must have really loved your mom because it's like you see those people that can mimic these people. Like, what did your mom meet? Did your mom meet this person? Like, out of one, so you have to. And what would be really interesting is like mom just sits there. Oh no, I never did that. And then you did the DNA test, and it's like, Mom, I'm related to Robin Williams. I said Robin Williams, my dad.
That would be funny. Oh yeah. So a little bit off topic. So I saw on your Facebook that you went to go see like a Dracula show, and it looked like it was based off of like the 1992 movie.
Well, what it was they were showing Bram Stoker's Dracula, but they took out they kept in the dialogue in, but they took out the soundtrack, and they had a live orchestra playing the music.
Huh.
Wow.
It was incredible. It was the theater itself was like 130 years old, so it felt. I wore my Dracula costume, but like I fit in tuxedo and cape, and it's the way of hearing the live orchestra. It felt like almost like 3D, but with instead of sight, with hearing, where you felt like more immersed in it, like you felt like you were like part of the movie.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it was amazing. Oh, and I would my sister Katie, she plays a great inmate 13's insane character at the old Juliet haunted prison. I would cast her as Rainfield. She does a really great crazy.
Oh, I believe it.
Yeah.
Hey, so I see that would be I guess that would be the ESG casting for Renfield, right? We could break all the records. Cast the first female as Renfield, right?
Right.
Yeah,
I got it because in the English production of the play Dracula, they changed Quincy Morris into a woman.
Oh, I was not aware of that.
Yeah,
Okay,
I forget they changed the character name, but it was like the same thing where she did like all like the Western expressions.
You know who would be a really good Quincy Morris now?
Who?
Glenn Powell.
Ooh.
Now you say that, I can see it.
Well, I mean, he's from Texas, so
yeah,
it worked.
That would be really good.
He is, yeah.
But
yeah.
Let's see what. I want to know something. Like they haven't. I think the last time they did the Dracula on Broadway was in the 70s, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Maybe is it Phantom or Les Miserables that's leaving? Eric, do you know?
I could look that up.
I know it's one of the big ones that's leaving. It's either Phantom or Les Mis.
I think I heard Phantom of the Opera is ending, which honestly I'm really surprised that they're doing that on the economic level, because knowing that Phantom of the Opera made Broadway a lot of money. So,
well, maybe they could replace it with Dracula.
Yeah.
Because like that hasn't been seen since the 70s with Frank Langella, right?
Yeah, it's wild to think how long ago that's been. It's almost 50 years ago, but I think you're absolutely right.
So, according to research, Phantom of the Opera closed on Broadway February 18th, 2023. Yeah, I'm really shocked that they did that.
Well, replace it with Dracula because, you could revamp that, like base it off the Hamilton Dean play. And if you have to write, I don't know if I don't know, Bobby might know more than we do. I'm assuming it had songs, right?
No.
Okay, so you could have somebody write the songs for it, but it's based more on the Hamilton Dean play,
Yeah, I think that would be amazing. Yeah.
Okay, so from what I am reading from this source, Les Miserables, I'm probably mispronouncing
Les Miserables.
Les Mis. Yeah.
It's a tough cookie.
Yeah, so that closed on September 4th, 2016. And then I guess it came back, but understandably so, it shut down in March 2020. Huh. I wonder why.
Oh, I don't know why. Gee.
It totally couldn't be because of the pandemic that was going on at that time.
Yeah.
Absolutely not at all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, and then checking out the website online, I see that you could book it in Chicago. Ironic, because that's where you're at. And
oh, cool.
Ohio.
I've seen it in Chicago.
Well, but anyway.
Salt Lake.
you
Or,
but they should do. I think they should just do Dracula, and like if you do Dracula though, you need to get like I would say like a more of like a heavy metal type soundtrack to it or something, you know?
Oh, I think that'd be really cool. I think that would be really good with it. Yeah.
Like maybe I don't know. Get hey, fantasy world here to get like Judas Priest to write the music, right?
Because with Dracula and with Renfield, I feel like heavy metal would go really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I can see that. And yeah, and speaking of Renfield, I'm sure that you've seen the Renfield movie with Nicolas Cage.
Yes, I loved it. Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, Nicolas Cage stole the entire show, and ultimately, I am really happy for him because that was a dream role of his.
Mm-hmm. I know his dream. Yeah, it's very interesting. His dream roles. It's Dracula
Superman, yeah.
and then Captain Nemo.
Oh, I didn't know
I
Captain
didn't
Nemo
know that
was
either.
one of them.
Well, I think that's why I think as a compromise for the new movie, which the new movie they should get him as Jor-El.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
And I don't know, like I don't Nicholas. I'm not being ageist here, but like I don't know, like Captain Nemo, Nicholas Cage is 60. You know, so it's like I don't know about a 60-year-old Captain Nemo, but maybe he could.
well, it could work. I mean, heck, I mean, Jim Carrey's in his 60s, and he's playing Doctor Eggman in the Sonic movies.
True, true. I mean, maybe as the professor, if anybody's read 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, a great book and one of my favorites. But let's see. Are you looking, Bobby? You looking forward to Nosferatu?
Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah,
I am so excited for
Well,
this.
is
that
this
comes
actually,
out Christmas Day, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I know what I'm going to be doing on Christmas.
is that now? Is it actually going to be actual Dracula, or are they actually going to do Count Orlok? Is the
I
question.
think they're doing Count Orlok, as far as I can tell. And hey, I will be right back. I'm going to go grab myself a drink.
All right. Well, um, but well, I just wish that Willem Dafoe though was actually playing Bulwer because they changed his name. You know, I'm like,
Yeah.
why? You know, but you know, that's one thing I was even telling somebody, you know what I want to see?
What?
Like, I want to see like a Orlok thing that's not connected to Dracula by any means. You know, and Nosferatu, it kind of seems like it could be. So
That would be really interesting because Count Orlok. I mean, there's obviously. I mean, the character is has his basis in Dracula, but like he's not Dracula. There's a lot of different things with his character, so
right.
it'd be really interesting to see him in different situations. I mean, the whole thing of bringing the plague with him places he goes, that's not a Dracula thing.
I have an idea.
What?
Eric, if Eric comes back here, we'll sit there and do if he can hear us. Dracula versus Orlok.
Oh, that would be really, really interesting.
Yeah,
That would be fascinating. Yeah.
the only thing I noticed though about this about Count Orlok. Did you hear that, Eric?
Yes, I did. Dracula versus Count Orlok, which would be kind of funny because essentially Dracula would be fighting himself.
Well, then you could have what could he does. I don't know if he watches your channel, but one YouTuber who doesn't care too much for me said that you could base it on because Vlad the Impaler had a brother.
Maybe.
I don't know. I feel like you would just need to get really far away from the Dracula thing, you know, with Count Orlok to make him a more unique character. But if you did do that, Eric, you know what one of the Van Helsing characters could say?
What?
The Count killed himself. But and technically, Orlok's not even count. It's Graf Orlok. So, um, you know,
Yeah, because isn't that how you say it in German?
hmm well, and also I know. Well, here I got a very difficult question here for Bobby. Okay, so a lot of people have said that they think that the Spanish version of Dracula is a better, superior film.
I can
But
see why.
but Drac, but you know, but the 1931 movie is, you know, a is still a good movie. You know, but what are your thoughts about the Spanish version?
Um, I disagree with that interpretation.
Yeah, okay.
All right. First, I mean, you're the strongest thing about a Dracula movie is your Dracula.
Yeah.
And Carlos Villas, you know, he's no Bela Lugosi, you know,
Right.
and the Renfield, you know, the Renfield in the Spanish Dracula is very good, but Dwight Frye is really great too, and so I feel, and then some like I'll admit some of the things that they may handle in the Spanish version are they do a little bit better than the English version. Like so, like there's a few scenes, but there's some scenes in the English version that they do better in the Spanish version.
Mm-hmm.
Like I for one the when you first meet Dracula in the Spanish version, and they do that like the crane shot up there, you get it, like the can like they don't do it as well as Carl Freund. The camera kind of bounces, you know. So I think that it's a much weaker introduction to the character.
Hmm.
Certainly, yeah. And I mean, I can't see why some people would say the Spanish version is better because cinematography and all that. So I see where people are coming from, but the one thing everybody does agree upon is that it doesn't have Bela.
Well,
Yeah.
technically it does actually.
How?
Once there's a scene where it still has Bela Lugosi in it, you just can't see him because they kind of hid it in shadows. I think it's during the opera where like they just used the same footage of Bela. So, um, but one of the things I do like that actor who played Renfield, I don't I you know Eric, you don't need to fact check it, okay? But like the actor played
I won't.
Renfield, the actor who plays Renfield, he I will say like Dwight Frye did a really good job, but that actor who played Renfield in the one like I actually have he went so mad on set when he was acting that like everybody on the crew's like, "Are you okay?" when he does that.
He's my favorite part of the Spanish Dracula.
Oh
Like
well, no,
he does
like
a
Eric.
job.
When was the last time you saw the Spanish version?
I think it was late last year or early this year. I something tells me it was around when I got you the Universal box set as like,
Mm-hmm.
well, it was supposed to be your birthday present, but then it ended up being a Valentine's Day present. I weird to say that because we're
When
not.
did you when did you
Well,
turn
I
it?
know it was the anniversary Dracula anniversary present because it was originally released on Valentine's Day weekend.
Okay, there you go. There you go.
Okay,
See, there you go.
There you go.
okay,
I was going to sit there
that
and
definitely
say, Eric,
sounds better.
Eric's going to say, Eric, because I didn't know you were a fruit. It's a joke, people. Don't sit there. It's a joke.
Chillax.
It's a joke. Don't sit there. Call me phobic in the comments. But no. So, but no, like that actor. I mean, like on set, literally, they were asking, like, is he okay? Is he okay? Because it's like, oh, wow. Yeah. Because like you see him, like you actually believe that actor might have actually went mad. You know.
He's so great. He's amazing in the role.
Um, and Carlos, I feel like Carlos Villaris, however you're supposed to say it. I feel like he could have been a good Dracula. But I think his biggest problem is that, I mean, is he doing the Joker or is he playing Dracula? Because that smile, you know. But and you know the one guy who, I remember the guy that got to play Van Helsing was, you know, like I agree cinematography wise it's better, but and there was a part of me, Eric, I'm actually surprised, but I wish they would have done this because I would have been curious, but a uh, a Spanish version of Frankenstein.
Yeah, and about that, I did ask that in the Universal Monsters Facebook group. I was like, okay, why was there a Spanish Dracula but not a Spanish Frankenstein? Somebody made a really good point saying that the Dracula makeup was a lot easier to do, and someone said probably Jack Pierce probably didn't want to have to go through the makeup, for both the American and the Spanish version because of how time consuming it was. So that is
Well,
a good point. And I believe at that time, Frankenstein came out later that year. And so I think at that time, uh, Spanish versions were no longer a thing. Like they would just dub it.
yeah, well, and I mean it's such a unique concept because think about it, the only Spanish movie out there where they shot the entire movie in Spanish what was Dracula 1931 and then The Cat Creeps.
Yeah, and they're both horror movies. And didn't the Cat Creeps also have Bela Lugosi?
I don't believe.
I, I don't. I don't think so.
I
Well,
could have sworn that there was a movie with Bela Lugosi in it called The Cat Creeps.
was I mean
Okay, I'm okay. Look it up now.
fact check, but but both versions of The Cat Creeps are lost.
Okay, there's the Phantom Creeps, but wasn't there a movie with Bela Lugosi where it had cat in the title?
Yeah, the Black Cat.
The Black Cat. Okay, I think that's the
He
one that
just
I
mentioned. Come on,
mixed
he
up
just
with.
come on, pay attention, dude. He just mentioned that one. Are you feeling okay?
Well, it's just that I swear that I could have swore that there was a movie with Bela Lugosi that was called The Cat Creeps. I just could have swore that there was, and then
It's a Mandela effect.
maybe so. I'm not.
Well, I mean, to be fair, I mean the Black Cat and Phantom Creeps, like the words kind of go together.
Yeah,
So
yes.
I mean, cat. I mean, but what? Oh, are there any? Okay, obviously besides the play, are there any like lost Bela Lugosi movies that you would love to see?
Yes, the Head of Janus. It was a version of Dr. Jekyll of Mr. Hyde, where Bela Lugosi plays the butler, which is a pretty major role, and the director was F.W. Murnau. The director.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
The director of Nosferatu. Yeah. So
I never knew that.
yeah. So that would be a huge one I would want to see.
Such a shame that that's lost.
Well,
Yeah.
I think over like half of F.W. Murnau's films are lost is a sad thing. Like, um,
Well, and I mean, to think that Nosferatu almost was.
Right. Yeah.
mm-hmm. Well, is the script out there for House of Janos?
The Head of Janus. I don't believe so. I would have to do. I would have to do a little bit more digging.
Well,
Okay, what is the film called?
It's the Head of Janus. It's like yeah. It's a German title. It's like
well,
like
would this have been a? I guess. Well, F.W. Murnau died in 1930. This and they sound didn't come out really till 19 conflicting reports, but sound didn't become very prevalent. I'll say until like 1927. So, I mean, I think would this have been a sound film?
No, this was before direct. This was a silent film.
Okay, I want to make sure that I'm looking up the right movie. It says it's based off of the Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and it's from 1920, a German movie. Is this it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so this is the right movie then. Wow. So 11 years before Dracula and 2 years before Nosferatu.
Yeah, so I would love it if this movie was found.
Do they know where? Man, Germany, finding films that were made in Germany around that time are. I mean, we're lucky that we have as many German films as we do because well, we all know who destroyed a lot of German films.
Who?
You really, dude?
Well, it's like I feel like I know, but I guess I'm kind of scared to ask. But yeah. Okay. Who?
Man,
I feel like I'm gonna kick myself.
well, man, we've unintentionally. I've mentioned him a couple times during the podcast this week, unintentionally. Hitler.
Oh my God, German. Oh my God. I'm gonna kick myself for this.
Yeah, because a lot of films in Germany at that time were destroyed, probably burned. And I know especially after
Yeah, I'm so surprised that I've never heard of this movie.
So, wow. I mean, so I guess I know. I guess Bela Lugosi had a pretty big career in Germany after that. I assume for a little bit.
Right? Yeah, that's after he left Hungary, he was in Germany for a while.
Mm-hmm. It'd be really interesting. I mean, I don't know if we could ever find the information, but like, since I wonder if like after Murnau ever thought of Bela to play Count Orlok then,
That would be fascinating.
Oh man, like
it makes me wonder,
right? Because he worked with them. Because the role of the butler in Jekyll and Hyde, it's a pretty major character.
Excuse me.
And so and the way Bela Lugosi, I mean, even though he's not wearing like a heavy makeup for Dracula, the way he gestures and stuff, I feel would really work for like a silent film vampire.
Okay, this is sad. On IMDb, it only has 174 ratings, and for reviews, there's only 2 reviews. That's
how can that's I'm gonna call baloney on that if it's a lost movie.
Yeah, it's like, how can anybody review the movie if it's lost?
Right. Like, I mean, like, you could you could take a guess that it's good, but it's you really you really have to see it to leave a review.
I can review it. I didn't see the movie because it's lost. There's my review.
I mean, it would be nice if it had, more ratings and more reviews, but
well, if there's a script out there, Eric, you could do it.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna look up.
But any other projects, I guess, that you know of that are lost Bela Lugosi projects that
some of the other silent films he made in Germany, some silent films he made in Hungary are lost. And then also in Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, he originally where he plays Frankenstein's monster, he originally had dialogue, and they recorded that. And they removed that from the film, and that the audio for that's lost. So that's something I really would love to be found.
Well, okay. What is he saying? What is he? Spelled ironic since right over here. You guys can't. It's right off camera, but I have my Universal Monster set that we were just talking about. Thanks, Valentine. Oh, come on, dude. Make me look like I'm. Um, I,
Yeah.
what's the dialogue he says? I'll attempt to do it.
The I have to get the book out to read the dialogue. It was fairly like but it was done like in Igor's voice.
Yeah. Okay. So.
Which makes sense.
Yeah,
What is,
yeah.
okay.
So
Okay.
it
Well,
played out, and then too the character he was supposed to be blind in the film.
wait. So it's. Oh.
So it's almost kind of like the tone how he does at the end of a Ghost of Frankenstein. So it's like different dialogue than what he says, but like that kind of idea.
Oh, so it's his Igor voice.
Yeah, it's his Igor voice.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm searching for a script. I'm not seeing anything for a script. So.
Well, was it like Jekyll and Hyde where, they changed the character's name around?
Yeah, it was, yeah. He's sort of
or like Nosferatu where they changed the character's name around?
yeah. It's like that's what they did. Yeah.
I'm not surprised, considering what happened to Nosferatu. So I'm really not.
F.W. Murnau strikes again.
Well, I guess F.W. Murnau figured, well, hey, I got away with it once. I'll keep it again. Oh, oops.
That failed epically.
And then,
one of the things, Bobby, have you seen a lot of, besides Nosferatu and, Dr. Cabinet Caligari, have you actually seen a lot of silent horror movies?
I haven't seen. I need to see more. I've seen some of them.
Okay, well, one of them that is really good, and I've said it's probably one of my favorite movies of all time. It's from D.W. Griffith, and yeah, that guy, Birth of a Nation director. Which, okay, but it's a movie called The Sorrows of Satan. It's based on Faust. And I'm going to say D.W. Griffith makes one of the most unique horror movies of all time. And one of them, because silent horror movies are interesting to watch, because you're trying to scare people without sound and everything, and dialogue. And even some of the silent horror movies are some of the scariest I've seen, because like one of them that I love, Eric, I know you've probably heard of this one because this one has gotten more popular in recent years, Hexen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That one. But silent horror movies are some of the best.
They are, and considering that at that time, they weren't relying on jump scares or any of that stuff to scare you. They were relying all on the visuals, and especially that they were silent, and then they weren't relying on sound.
Mm-hmm. And even music too.
They have like a nightmare quality to them.
They do, and also knowing that they're that old, everybody involved with them has all passed away, and so now it feels like you're watching ghosts.
It does, even especially because even with Bela Lugosi's Dracula, everyone's passed away too, but you hear them talk. There's a way you can identify with them as like a person, Whereas in a silent, you can't identify with a silent film actor the same way because you don't know how they sound. So there's like you said, like you're watching ghosts because there's this extra. Yes, they're people, but there's an extra layer of removal between them.
The other thing too is with the silent movies is like I agree with that dreamlike quality because like they feel like how Dario Argento uses color, and they say his movies are very dreamlike. Like look how silent movies do to use color to create night or day. And then look at even Phantom of the Opera. People have said that they've made Phantom of the Opera how many times as far as movies?
Yeah.
But not the original one, because there was one I believe in 1916 that's lost. But the 1925 version, people still say that is the definitive version. And Eric, by the way, You aware of what's happening next year with that movie, right?
You're talking about the Lon Chaney one, right?
Right.
Doesn't that one go PD?
It's already public domain. When was it released?
Oh, it's the 100th anniversary.
Yes.
You know what? I'm gonna say this. How cool would it be to have do a live commentary for a Sit Down by the Fire episode?
That would be awesome. And hey, and I mean, you definitely are a big Universal Monsters fan. And so if you want to join
Oh,
for
I would be honored to. I would be honored to.
Technically it was MGM, but Universal just adopted.
oh, close enough.
I mean, no. Technically, it is MGM, but after it became public domain, Universal adopted it.
So kind of like what happened with, I believe, what was that movie where with Bela Lugosi, like where he had that like really thick beard and like having to do with animals. It was based off of a book. It wasn't Universal, but
Murder on the Rue Morgue.
Yeah, I think it was Island of Lost Souls.
Yeah, where he's got where is Charles Laughton is Dr. Moreau, and then
Yeah,
like one of the
that one. Yes.
That's a there's a series that somebody should actually do, because we've all, Murder on the Rue Morgue. If anybody has ever read that book, Edgar Allan Poe actually made 2 sequels to that book, based on that actual detective who was a precursor to Sherlock Holmes. I would love to see somebody do that. But no, that would be. And one of the things I love too about even the Phantom of the Opera from the 1920s, people said that like that's the definitive Phantom look. Like there's been many looks for the Phantom. I mean, even the Phantom of the Opera play hasn't been able to top that look. I mean, they have that mask, but I'm gonna be honest, like I like the mask, okay, but there's something about that mask. It looks too theatrical, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you actually look into the real story behind the Phantom of the Opera, because it's actually based on a real story. There really was.
I had no idea.
Well, there was an actor. No, his name. No, it's not you, dude. His name is not Eric. So as creepy as you are, you're not quite the Phantom. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I've had people say that they can see me in that role, and I've had people say that they can see me as a vampire simply only it's because I have like the ponytails.
Well, all right. Well,
I can see it. I mean, to be fair, I can. Yeah.
Well, why don't you try?
And I feel like even more so if I shaved off my facial area.
Why don't you try? Saying some of the dialogue.
Okay. All right. Let me look up a few. Okay. No way. I can say some of the Bela Lugosi lines, which I know off the top of my head. Oh, great! I'm out of focus of the. Okay, great. I'm back in focus. Funny how as soon as I say that, I then get back in the focus.
I helped you as soon as my phone says that it's at 10%. So.
Okay. Listen to them, children of the night. What music they make.
That's from Dracula, dude.
Well, yeah.
I thought we were going to try Phantom.
Oh, I thought that you wanted me to say a... Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you wanted me to say a Dracula line. I'm sorry.
Okay. Hold your eye. What's the song? Listen to the music of the night. Hold your eyes.
But yeah, since your phone's at 10% and we're going on for nearly 3 hours now, and I got somewhere that I got to be in about half an hour, so I say this is a good place to wrap things up. I will be definitely very curious to see what your thoughts are on my message, Bobby.
Okay, so that sounds great.
And yeah, something tells me you're going to be very excited about it. But yeah. So, anyways, is there anything upcoming for you that you want to plug?
Oh yes, actually, there's this really great. It's a pro LGBT organization in the haunted house community called Haunters Against Hate, and I'm being named the Haunter of the Year.
Yes.
Yes, thank you,
Well,
thank you.
That's awesome, dude.
I am so honored. I am so honored.
And hey, stay tuned. Stay tuned, and we'll have Bobby back on for the 100th anniversary of Phantom of the Opera.
That sounds great.
Yes.
Feast your eyes, collect your soul upon my accursed ugliness.
So that will be next year, right? In 2025.
Yes, I'm gonna have to check the date, but yes.
Okay. Okay. I'm gonna check that really quick. Phantom of the Opera, 2025 release date. Funny, because that's okay. November 2025. So that actually will be by then. I definitely will be in Atlanta.
Okay.
So I guess we could do it in November if we wanted to, or we could do it earlier. I guess it just really, I mean, I guess it just depends.
We got a whole year to plan.
We do, so we got time.
No, we don't have. What are you talking about? We don't have much time at all.
Oh, definitely not. But anyways,
It's tomorrow.
but thank you, Bobby, for joining, and I'll be sure to. Yeah, I'll be sure to have a link for people to follow you on your Instagram, and yeah, and for people to check out any of your amazing stuff.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Awesome.
certainly. You all have a fantastic day.
Yeah, have a fantastic day.